TJ Edwards and Ozzy Trapilo are officially out for the season after being placed on injured reserve today, leaving a massive void in the Bears lineup. It is a devastating blow. But before we break this down, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, hit that like button, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I have to tell you, this is exactly the kind of news that keeps a coach like Ben Johnson up at night. Losing a player of TJ Edwards' caliber is not just about losing a starter, it is about losing the heart and soul of the entire defensive unit. Edwards has been a tackling machine since he arrived in Chicago, and his ability to diagnose plays before they even happen is something you simply cannot replace overnight. The report coming out of Hallis Hall today confirms the absolute worst-case scenario: a fractured fibula. That is a brutal, agonizing injury for a linebacker who relies so heavily on his lateral movement, his closing speed, and his explosive pursuit of the ball carrier. I have watched the tape of the play where it happened several times, and you could see immediately that something was wrong. He is the guy who wears the green dot on his helmet. He is the guy who gets everyone lined up correctly and makes the critical adjustments at the line of scrimmage. Now, that massive responsibility falls onto the shoulders of Tremaine Edmunds and likely Jack Sanborn. This defense has been the backbone of the team this year, keeping us in games when the offense was struggling to find its rhythm or sustain drives. Now, Ben Johnson has to figure out how to fill that gap without losing the identity of the unit. Sanborn is a local favorite and a high-effort player, but he doesn't quite have the same range in pass coverage that Edwards provides. This changes how we have to play against high-powered passing attacks in the NFC North. We might see more sub-packages, more safety help in the box, or perhaps a complete shift in how we blitz the quarterback. And then there is the loss of Ozzy Trapilo. While he might not be a household name for casual fans, his loss is equally significant for the depth of the offensive line. A ruptured patellar tendon is one of the most difficult injuries for a big man to recover from. It requires a massive amount of surgery and rehab, and often takes away that initial punch and power that offensive linemen need to win the battle in the trenches. Trapilo was proving to be a valuable piece of the rotation, a guy who could step in and play multiple positions when the starters needed a breather or went down with minor knocks. Without him, the margin for error for this offensive line becomes razor thin. We are talking about a unit that has already seen its fair share of shuffling and instability this season. I worry about the cumulative effect of these injuries as we head into the final, most important stretch of the season. The physical toll of the NFL is unforgiving, and when you lose your primary backup at a position as volatile as the offensive line, you are just one snap away from a total catastrophe. I have watched Ben Johnson try to mask these issues with quick passes and more chip blocks from the tight ends, but you can only hide a weak link for so long against elite pass rushers. We need to look at the cap implications here too. Both players going to IR opened up roster spots, but it doesn't necessarily open up much cap space for this year. It means our management has to go scouring the waiver wire or looking at the practice squads of other teams to find veteran bodies who can at least provide some stability and veteran leadership. It is a stressful time to be a Bears fan, no doubt about it. We were starting to build some real momentum, and now we have to face the reality of playing without one of our most consistent defenders. I want to dive deeper into what the medical staff is saying about the recovery timeline for these specific injuries. A fractured fibula usually means a 3 to 4 month recovery process, which effectively ends any hope of a playoff run if we were to make a deep run. The patellar tendon for Trapilo is even worse, often requiring a full year before a player feels like themselves again. This is a long-term setback for a young player who is just starting to find his footing in this league. I feel for these guys personally because they put in so much work in the offseason. They go through training camp, through the grind of the early weeks, only to have it taken away by a freak occurrence on the field. It's the cruel side of the sport we love, and it never gets easier to see. But as they say in the NFL, the show must go on, and the next man up has to be ready to play at a high level. We cannot afford to have a drop-off in production if we want to stay competitive in this race. The defensive scheme relies on the linebackers to be aggressive and disciplined, and any hesitation from the backups could lead to massive plays for the opposition. I am looking at the coaching staff to see how they simplify things for the new starters, while still maintaining the complexity needed to confuse opposing quarterbacks. It is a delicate balance, and Ben Johnson has his work cut out for him over the next few days as they prepare the game plan. The loss of Edwards is truly a massive blow to the chemistry of the defense.
Now, while the news about Edwards and Trapilo is undeniably somber and difficult to digest, there is a silver lining that we absolutely have to discuss, and that is the activation of Braxton Jones. Having our starting left tackle back is a massive boost for this offense. I cannot overstate how important Jones is to the protection of our quarterback and the success of our run game. When he went down, we saw a noticeable dip in the stability of the pocket. The blind side is a sacred space for a quarterback, and having a veteran presence like Jones back in the fold allows Ben Johnson to call a much more expansive and aggressive playbook. We don't have to worry as much about constant pressure from the edge, which means we can let those deeper routes develop down the field. Jones has been working incredibly hard in his rehab, and the word from the training staff is that he looks as strong and agile as ever. His return couldn't have come at a better time for this organization. With Trapilo going down, having a starter return mitigates some of that depth loss and provides a much-needed emotional lift. It allows the coaches to slide players back into their natural positions rather than having guys play out of place just to fill a hole. I expect to see a much more cohesive and dominant performance from the offensive line this coming Sunday. The chemistry between the tackles and the guards is something that takes weeks of practice to build, and having Braxton back in his familiar spot will help everyone else settle down and focus on their individual assignments. I want to see how he handles the elite speed rushers in his first game back. There is always a bit of rust to shake off when you haven't seen live game action in a while, but Jones is a professional who knows exactly how to prepare his body and mind. I am looking for him to establish the run early, using his reach and leverage to create those wide lanes for our running backs. If we can get the ground game going effectively, it takes the pressure off the passing game, and more importantly, keeps our depleted defense off the field. That is the hidden benefit of getting a guy like Braxton Jones back. An efficient offense is the best friend of a struggling or injured defense. If we can sustain long, methodical drives and put points on the board, we don't have to rely on the defense to win games with turnovers or goal line stands every single week. I have been analyzing the snap counts from the last few weeks, and it is clear that the rotation was getting tired and stretched thin. The return of Jones fixes that immediately. We also have to think about the leadership aspect of this move. Braxton Jones is a leader in that locker room and on that sideline. He brings a level of calmness and experience that you just can't get from a rookie or a journeyman backup. His presence in the huddle matters to the younger players. As we look at the remaining schedule, every single game is a battle for our lives. We are in the thick of the divisional race, and every win counts toward that ultimate goal. Losing Edwards is a punch to the gut, but getting Jones back is the counterpunch we desperately needed to stay upright. I am curious to see if Ben Johnson decides to use more heavy sets now that he has his primary tackle back. Maybe we see more two tight end looks to provide extra protection while the defense adjusts to the loss of their leader. It is a high-stakes chess match, and the board just changed significantly for both sides. I also want to mention the fans. The energy at Soldier Field has been incredible this year, and the team is going to need that vocal support more than ever before. It is easy to get discouraged when you see season-ending injuries next to names like TJ Edwards, but this team has shown incredible resilience in the face of adversity before. We have seen guys step up in the past and make a name for themselves when the lights were the brightest. This is a massive opportunity for someone like Jack Sanborn to prove he belongs in the starting lineup long-term. This is an opportunity for the coaching staff to show their creativity and tactical brilliance. I believe in the culture Ben Johnson is building here in Chicago. It is a culture of accountability and the next man up. We are going to find out what this team is truly made of over the next few weeks. I will be watching the practice reports closely to see how the team responds to these roster moves. I want to see who is taking the leadership reps in the defensive huddle. I want to see how Braxton Jones is moving in pass protection drills and if he has his full range of motion back. These are the small, crucial details that determine the outcome of games in December and January. I am staying optimistic, despite the injuries, because that is what being a fan is all about. We have the talent, we have the coaching, and now we have a returning star at tackle. Let's see how it unfolds on the grass. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update on our Bears. I will be here breaking it all down for you every step of the way. Go Bears!